Any idea what this is? It's okay, I'll tell you. It's called drumstick or moringa, and I got it from the local Indian grocery shop to make sambar. That's right, for the third episode of this series of videos on vegetable soups, we'll spice things up and visit South India. But don't worry, we'll try both the traditional way and a simplified, less authentic version with ingredients that are easier to find in any supermarket. So, in the same place where I found that drumstick, I also got a few other ingredients, like these pigeon peas or toor dal. Sometimes they're used in combination with other types of dal, such as chana dal or urad dal. I will soak 100 grams of them in a couple of inches of water for just about half an hour. After soaking, they will need to cook until tender, which is going to take another 30 minutes. In the meantime, let's prepare the vegetables. There isn't really a rule on which vegetables to use for sambar, and of course there are many regional variations, but I'll try to use what's more common in India. After chopping a carrot, I will also slice a few shallots, 50 grams of green beans, and I'll chop 2 small aubergines. This is the Indian type, a bit more difficult to find than the Italian variety, at least in the UK supermarkets. I'll also dice a potato, and it's time for the drumstick. You're meant to lightly scrape or partially peel off its waxy skin. This should allow them to cook faster and to better absorb the seasoning. As you can see, the outer part is mostly woody fiber, and it will stay like that even after cooking. And that's why the way you eat them is by sucking or squeezing out the soft pulp and the seeds. Lastly, I'll chop 1 tomato. And now, let's get cooking. First of all, the so-called tempering of the spices. I add some vegetable oil to a pot, and when it's hot, I drop 1 teaspoon of urad dal, 1 teaspoon of mustard seeds, and a few curry leaves. This process is meant to sort of wake up the spices, and therefore to truly extract their flavor. Then I'll add the shallots, and a pinch of asafoetida. Now, I can simply throw in all the vegetables at once. Also, a couple of green chilies, 1 tablespoon of sambar powder, 1/4 teaspoon of turmeric, and a teaspoon of salt. Sambar powder is quite an easy find in Indian grocery stores, but you can otherwise make it yourself. I'll leave the ingredients in the description. It's typically quite hot, so I won't use more than this, but as usual, feel free to adjust the amount to your own preference. I've only sauteed the vegetables for a couple of minutes to coat them well in oil and spices, so now I'll cover them with water and I'll let them simmer for 10 minutes. Let's get back to our dal. It's ready, so I'll turn off the heat and I will give it a quick whisk to partially mash it. This will add a creamy base to the soup. Now it's time to add 1 teaspoon of jaggery, which is unrefined cane sugar with an amazing toffee taste, and 1 teaspoon of tamarind concentrate. I think 1 teaspoon of tamarind gives it the right amount of tang, but you can add more if you like. Let's also pour in the dal. After another 5 minutes, always on low heat, it's time to check for salt and if the vegetables are done. Sambar is a dish that has been made for centuries, and as you can see, it's very easy to prepare after all. Well, if you already like dishes like tadka dal, this is such an upgrade. The dal here is just a buttery base for the vegetables, and there's such an intricate play of textures and flavors. Not only savory and spicy, but also sweet and sour, thanks to tamarind and jaggery. They really give sambar its South Indian character. You can serve it with rice, but in this case I've made idli, soft steamed cakes made with a lentil and rice batter. They're probably more of a breakfast item, and that's actually how I first had sambar. But I think they're great with it because they can really soak up all of its flavor. And now, let's have a look at the simplified version. You know, for when you can't be bothered to look for ingredients anywhere else than in your everyday supermarket. First, I'm replacing pigeon peas with split thread lentils. Easy to find, and they don't require soaking. I'll simply cook 100 grams of them in half a liter of water with about half a teaspoon of salt for 20 minutes on low heat. Then, like I did for the dal before, I'll give them a quick whisk. For the vegetables, this time I'll be using an Italian aubergine instead of the 2 Indian ones I used before, and I'll replace the drumstick with a courgette. Then a carrot, 50 grams of green beans, a potato, 2 tomatoes, and an onion, but you can really use just whatever you have at hand. I won't be tempering the spices, as I'm assuming you might not have mustard seeds or curry leaves, so I'll just saute the onion in vegetable oil, and I'll add some garlic too. Then I'll throw in all the vegetables. As a substitute for sambar powder, this time I'm going to use 2 tablespoons of curry powder instead. I chose it hot to match sambar powder spice level. I will also add 1 teaspoon of salt. I'll cover everything with water, and I'll let it simmer for 15 minutes. At this point I'll add the lentils, and I'll adjust for salt. Off camera unfortunately, but as a replacement for tamarind and jaggery, I've also added 1 tablespoon of lemon juice and 1 teaspoon of sugar right after turning off the heat. Since idli is not the easiest thing to prepare from scratch, or you might not find an idli instant mix in supermarkets, I've decided to make some jeera rice instead this time. It's basically just basmati rice sauteed with cumin seeds. What can I say? As unorthodox as it is, this version of sambar is absolutely delicious too, and it stays remarkably close to the complex flavors of the traditional one. So, will you give either version a try? Let me know in the comments. And if you love soups, you can check the previous episodes of this series. You can find the links in the description. But I'll be trying more vegetable soups in the next episode, so stay tuned. And remember, if you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing. It's free and it would truly help my channel. So, where are we going next?